Hey everybody, and welcome to the third episode of The Ragged Reno. Now, as you remember in episode 2, I talked to you all about the cottage that we had, a cottage on a place called Memory Lane. So what Jessica and I wanted to do was perhaps sell the cottage, eventually sell our house out in Accomack, and then find a place that we could live on the water and live that cottage lifestyle year-round. But when you're trying to sell a property in New Brunswick, which isn't necessarily the hottest real estate market in Canada, you have to be very clever and creative with how you market. So this is where my buddy Jake Palmer comes back into the picture. If you remember, Jake is my friend who's a real estate agent. And Jake is one of those guys that goes above and beyond with comedy and really clever marketing tactics when he's trying to sell his clients' homes. So I gave Jake a call.
So when Greg called and asked me to list their cottage on Memory Lane, I knew that we had to do the standard stuff that we do when we're trying to attract a buyer from out of town. So we had to have a really strong MLS presence. That means professional pictures, really tight description, and video tours giving a real sense of the property. The great thing about having a listing like this with someone like Greg Hemmings is that my hands weren't tied. Greg is really creative, so I knew that I would have the leeway to try to do things a little bit differently. For example, every year on the St. John and Kennebecasis River, we get a spring flood. And I wanted to show that Greg's place was so high and dry, we never had to worry. The water was like 200 feet from the cottage, but I would go and do spring flood updates showing how high we were from the water. Hey Greg, it's Jake checking in again at 11 Memory Lane. I wanted to come up and make sure that Memory Lane was safe. So I spent the night last night just to make sure that it's okay. And as you can see in the background, I'd say you still got a good 200 or 300 feet before the water touches you. But I'm going to keep an eye on it anyway. You're out of bread and eggs. You're out of eggs too. You're still safe from the flooding. You can see the water's there. And they say the water's still going to come a little bit higher. You left some beer in the fridge, and I figure you left that for me. And so I thought I'd stay here the night and make sure that the water doesn't affect you. The other idea I had was to do a barbecue on a Friday at 5 o'clock so that instead of an open house on Sunday, we'd have an open house on Friday so people could see what it's like to get there right after work and be on the water and go down to the beach. And that was really successful. But even better than all that, having a listing with someone like Greg Hemmings allows me to offload that and allow him to be creative. He was willing and excited to try to do some stuff on his own, and it was a really great partnership. He had a friend that did an amazing drone video showing the cottage at its very best. He had neighbors that were willing to go in the news and talk about how much they loved the area, but also how much they were going to miss Greg when he left.
So I'm heartbroken, but I understand. I'll do what I can to help, obviously, but that doesn't mean that I'm not going to be able to look sad when it happens.
And the other thing that Greg was willing to do that a lot of people aren't is he was able to use his kids as a marketing tool. And that got a lot of attention too.
And Kaya, who was 7 at the time, had a YouTube channel. She still does. It's called Heart Fun. You can check it out at heartfun.org.
Hi everybody, welcome to Heart Fun.
And what we did was we essentially took over one of the episodes of her channel to help us tell the story of our cottage. Now, there was a little bit of a twist on how she approached it. She called this episode the Don't Buy Our Cottage episode.
I don't want to sell this beautiful cottage, but Dad and since we have to sell it. We had it for a long time, since I was a little baby, so I do not want to sell my cottage. If you're thinking of buying a cottage, do not buy this one. Don't buy our cottage.
The awesome thing is once Kaya released that episode, it got a ton of attention from local media, from blogs to radio news to television news and the newspaper.
Pro tip, cuteness sells real estate.
So after all the attention that we got from Kaya's Heart Fun episode, we attracted the attention of one particular news service, and we were able to leverage, get this, the presidency of Donald Trump to help us actually sign and seal the deal and sell our cottage. Tune into the next episode to see how we leverage the presidential campaign of Donald Trump to help us get this much closer to living our dream by getting a house on the water.
Don't go fast. Go slower. There we go, boy. Good boy.